Hello and welcome. If you love chilling stories told in the dark, you're in the right place. Get comfortable, subscribe, and let's begin. The night is listening. I didn't even know the town existed until my car broke down just outside it. Dresden Hollow, Ohio. Not the Dresden most people know. That one's east. This place wasn't on the maps. No exit signs, no billboards. Just a rusted green road marker half swallowed by vines. It read, Dresden Hollow, Pop. That question mark should have been my first warning. I walked the rest of the way, 3 miles through cornfields that didn't grow right, stalks too thin, leaves too wide, everything leaning slightly toward the road, like they were listening. When I finally saw the town, it looked normal. Maybe too normal. One diner, one gas station, a church, a general store, and a dozen or so homes, all faded, all with peeling white paint, like they'd been built from the same blueprint and just copied over time. But something was wrong. There were no children, no music, no dogs barking, just people sitting quietly on porches or behind windows, all watching me arrive. No one smiled. At the diner, the woman behind the counter greeted me with the kind of tired eyes that had seen too much. "You're not from here," she said. Not a question. "No," I replied. "Car trouble. I just need a place to—" "No one stays in Dresden Hollow." There was a long silence. Then she slid me a cup of coffee without asking. "You'll want to leave before nightfall." I asked her why. She stared at me a moment too long, then leaned in, voice low, because when the bell rings it remembers. I didn't know what she meant. I still don't, not fully, but soon. I asked around, trying to learn something, anything about the town. But every time I brought up its history, people changed the subject. I asked an old man outside the gas station when Dresden Hollow was founded. He lit a cigarette and said, "It wasn't." I asked the sheriff, who had no badge, no nameplate, about old town records. He said, "We don't write things down here." Even the church had no year on its stone foundation. No memorials, no plaques. It was like the town had simply appeared one day. Or worse, like it had replaced something else. I tried searching online that night from my motel room, but Dresden Hollow didn't come up. Every time I typed it into Google, the results redirected me to a blank page. No history, no crime stats, no weather reports, just nothing. As if the town wasn't supposed to be found. Then I found something, buried in a 2009 Reddit thread about towns with bad vibes. One comment, "Went to Dresden Hollow once. Never again." The whole place feels like a held breath. Locals are nice, but don't ask them about 1962. They don't like that. No replies. User deleted. But 1962 stuck with me. That night I couldn't sleep. Not just because of the heat. The AC unit hummed like it was trying to drown something else out. But because of the church bell. It rang once. At 4:06 a.m. One deep, long toll that seemed to vibrate through the walls. And with it, a sound, not from outside, from under the bed. A whisper, breathy, soft, male. "You shouldn't be here." I jumped up, heart racing, checked everywhere. Nothing. I opened the front door. The streets were empty, but the lights in the church steeple flickered once, then went dark, and as I turned back inside, I noticed something carved into the motel door. Not with a knife, with fingernails. 4 words, "Don't say his name." I hadn't said anyone's name. Not yet. But the town knew I was thinking it. And tomorrow, I was going to find out why. The next morning, Dresden Hollow was even quieter. Not peaceful, heavy. Like the sky itself didn't want to hang over this place anymore. The church bell hadn't rung again, but I kept hearing that whisper in my head. "You shouldn't be here." And the carving on the door, "Don't say his name," but no one would tell me who he was. At the diner, I asked the waitress again about 1962. She didn't answer, just handed me a refill and walked away. But someone had been listening. A man in a faded brown coat and leather gloves sat at the counter, eating eggs without looking up. He leaned slightly toward me and said, "You really want to know what happened in..." I nodded. He didn't look at me, didn't smile, just whispered, "Elijah Maris." And then he stood up and left his food half finished. The name felt wrong in my mouth, like it didn't belong in my voice. "Elijah Maris," I whispered at once under my breath, and the light above the counter flickered. The waitress froze mid-step. The old man outside the gas station dropped his coffee. The sheriff across the street turned his head slowly toward the diner window and just stared. Everyone heard it. Everyone felt it. Back at the motel, I searched for the name online. There were no birth records, no obituaries, but one blurry scan of an old newspaper clipping showed up, titled "Tragedy at Hollow Hill Church." Below the headline, half-burned and barely legible, was a line of text. "Local man Elijah Maris pronounced dead on arrival. Body missing. Authorities investigating." But that wasn't the strange part. Someone had posted a comment under the scan. "He didn't die in 1962. He started." I printed the article and brought it to the diner. Tried showing the waitress. She backed away like I was holding a snake. "Put it away, now." "Why?" I asked. "What happened to him?" Her hands trembled as she whispered, "He tried to make time stop. That night I went to the church. It was open. No lights. Dust thick in the air. The pews were uneven, as if something had pushed them all slightly sideways. At the front, beneath a broken stained glass window, was a wooden box. A donation chest. On it, to those who still remember. Inside, nothing but torn scraps of paper. Each one had a word or phrase scrawled in frantic handwriting. He walked backward. He left but never arrived. The bell is his mouth. 406. 406. He watched his own funeral. Suddenly, the bell rang. Once, deep, hollow, closer than it should have sounded. 406A. Again, my ears rang. My teeth buzzed. And somewhere behind me I heard footsteps. Slow, dragging. I turned. No one. But the donation box lid had closed, and carved into the wood now, "He knows you know." I ran back to the motel, and in the mirror above the sink, written backward in condensation, was a name. Mine. Below it, "Second funeral coming." Who was Elijah Maris? Why won't anyone speak his name? And why? After all these years, is he still watching? They call it Maris House, but never out loud. It sits at the edge of Dresden Hollow, past the overgrown cemetery, and the creek that never freezes, a two-story shell of rotting wood and fogged windows. No one lives there. No one goes near it. But every night at 4:06 a.m., when the church bell rings, people say the house whispers. I went there anyway. Couldn't help myself. There's something about this town, about the silence, that doesn't just keep you guessing. It pulls you in. I walked the gravel road alone. The houses I passed all had their curtains drawn. Not a single light. But I knew I was being watched. Not by people. By whatever remembers. The house wasn't locked. Of course it wasn't. The door creaked open like it had been waiting just for me. Inside, rut, dust, and a cold that didn't come from the air. The living room was lined with photographs, not of people, of clock, all frozen at 4:06. I moved through the house slowly, floorboards moaning under each step. In the hallway I found a mirror, but no reflection. It was pitch black, not like glass, but like a hole. I reached toward it, and something reached back. Just a flicker, a hand, fingers too long, wrist bending the wrong way. I stumbled backward, heart pounding. The mirror was empty again, but on the floor, scratched into the wood, was one word: stay. I found the basement door. It was sealed with chains, dozens of them, all tangled, knotted, rusted over. Beside the door sat a small table, on it a silver bell, same as the one in the church. I didn't touch it.
Not then.
Upstairs, the hallway stretched longer than it should have. 5 doors, all closed. I picked the middle one. Inside, a child's room, empty crib, mogul frozen mid-spin. On the wall, a drawing, crayon, sloppy, violent strokes. A figure, tall and thin, hovering over a church. Instead of a face, a clock, the hands pointing to 4. Then I heard it, the bell, one long toll. My phone read 4, and from inside the house, a voice began to whisper, not loud, not clear, but layered, like dozens of voices stacked on top of each other. They didn't say my name. They said his. Elijah. Elijah. The floor shook. The photographs in the hallway all fell at once. From the basement door came a new sound. Knocking. Slow. Rhythmic. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. Then a voice from behind the door. Time doesn't end when you die. It waits. And he's still waiting. I ran. Down the stairs. Out the door. But when I turned around, the house was dark again. Silent. Like it had never whispered. Never opened. Except for the new photo pinned to the front door. A black and white image of me, standing in the child's room. Behind me in the picture was something tall, watch, smiling, wearing a clock for a face. I returned to the church before dawn. I knew the bell would ring again, and I wanted to be there when it did. But this time, I wasn't going inside the sanctuary. I was going beneath it. The front doors creaked open easily, too easily. The pews looked the same, but the air heavier, as if the building had been holding its breath since I left. I walked to the altar. Behind it, the wooden donation box, now closed. On top of it, a single candle, lit. There was no wind, and yet the flame flickered as I approached, dancing in strange rhythms. Not random, intentional, like it was responding. I found the trap door beneath the pulpit, covered in dust in an old church rug. When I pulled it open, cold air poured out, thick and damp, like something buried was trying to exhale. The staircase was narrow, wooden, unfinished. It spiraled down farther than the building should have allowed, and then it opened into a stone chamber. There were no lights, just rows of wooden chairs facing a wall. Not an altar, not a cross. A wall, rough, cracked, covered in carvings, clocks, all stopped at 4:00, some drawn, some scratched, some bleeding. I approached one of the carvings, touched it, and it was warm. Then the whispering returned, but this time it wasn't from around me. It was from inside me. My mouth moved, but I wasn't speaking. A voice poured from my throat like it had always lived there. He remembers what we forget, and we forget what keeps him fed. I collapsed. When I looked up, I wasn't alone. Dozens of people sat in the chairs, silent, pale, motionless, eyes open, mouth sewn shut, all facing the wall, all dressed in outdated clothes, 1960s, 70s, 80s. None of them breathing, but all of them blinking. I backed away, stepped on something. A book, leather-bound, old, inside. Names, dates, death certificates, all from Dresden Hollow, all listed with the same time of death. Photos, and every few pages, the same name, over and over. Elijah Maris. Each entry dated years apart. He had died more than once. Then the bell rang, louder than ever before. The chairs shook. The people rose in unison, and from behind the wall something moved. Stone cracked. A long, narrow hand emerged through the fissure, fleshless, twisted. It dragged a clock face behind it. And then I saw the eye, just one, deep within the wall, looking at me. The floor pulsed, the carvings bled, and the candle above blew out. I don't remember how I got out, just that when I woke up, it was daylight. I was lying in front of the altar, alone, but in my hand, I clutched the book, still open, still warm, and one final message had been scrawled in red across the inside cover. If you say his name again, you'll be next. I left the church at sunrise. No one was on the streets. The diner was dark, the gas station empty. It was like the entire town had gone to sleep, or deeper than sleep, like something had switched off the world around me. All I had was the book, the one filled with death records, the one that said Elijah Maris had died multiple times. In each time, the date was April's deaths. I pieced it together. In 1962, Elijah tried to stop time. Not metaphorically, literally. There was a ritual beneath the church, in that room with the chairs. Something about remembrance, about binding time to memory. But something went wrong. Or maybe too right, because now, time obeys him. Every year on April 6th, the town resets. The people go silent. The bell rings. And whoever knows the truth, whoever remembers, disappears. They don't die. They don't leave. They're just removed, as if the town never had room for them. I tried to leave, drove east, then west, then north. No matter what road I took, the same sign eventually appeared again. Dresden Hollow, pop, and the town always looked exactly the same. Except one thing.
More people were missing.
I stopped asking questions, stopped saying the name, but the damage was done. It had heard me. It had marked me. I stayed at the motel for 2 more nights. The first night was silent. The second, the knocking returned, but not at the door. From inside the mirror, 3 slow knocks. And when I looked, my reflection didn't move. It just stared, smiled, and whispered, "You'll blink, and it will be your turn." I left on the 3rd night, or tried to. Drove until my tank was empty. Slept in the car. Walked the rest. Eventually I found another town. Normal, loud, alive. No one had heard of Dresden Hollow. No one believed me. I threw the book into a river. It floated for a while, then sank unnaturally fast, like it was being pulled down, like something wanted it back. That was a year ago. Now, every April 6th at 4:06 a.m., the bell rings again. I'm nowhere near Ohio, but I still hear it, loud, clear, inside my chest. And this morning when I looked in the mirror, just for a second, my reflection was gone. I think this is how it begins. Not with a death, but with a memory erased, a name spoken once too often, a town that doesn't forget, even if no one else remembers. If you ever find yourself driving through Ohio, and you pass a town that isn't on your map, and the people look like they've seen you before, keep driving, because if you stop, even once, he'll know, and he'll start your clock. The end. Thank you for staying with us through the dark. If you forgot to subscribe, please do. It truly means a lot. We're preparing many more strange and haunting stories just for you. Sleep well, and good night.